Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever it is, wherever you are. Thank you for listening to the Backlog Busting Project. My name is Wes. With me, as always, is Randy.
Wes, it feels like we've done this for a year.
Yeah, that would be because we have.
Yeah, we have.
Which is surprising to me, given our past history with projects. But
the fact that we made it a year without killing each other, or the fact that we got the first episode out.
These are both, yes. We'll just, let me try that answer again. Yes. There we go. So, you know the drill by now. Well, hopefully you do. But if you don't,
I don't. What do we do?
Yep. We're going to start off with our Player Nay segment, which, we're going to talk about some of the releases coming out in the next 2 weeks, and, see whether we want to add to our growing backlogs, because that makes perfect sense, right? You know, podcast dedicated to busting your backlog, and we're talking about games we want to put back on top of the pile.
Spoilers, if the last 2 weeks are anything, I'm saying nay to whatever you throw at me right now. I can't put any more on my plate.
All right. So, first up is The Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess HD, coming out for the Wii U on March 4th. Developed and published, of course, by Nintendo. Big shock there. This is the HD remaster of Twilight Princess. Really, that's about all there is to say about it. You know, I mean, they're releasing this kind of as, you know, part of the 30th anniversary celebration for Zelda, and off the success that was Wind Waker HD. And plus, you know, the NX game will be coming out hopefully this year. There's a lot of rumbling going on that's going to get basically the Twilight Princess treatment and come out for both the Wii U and the NX during the holidays, which would be interesting to see.
It seems to be the way they do things.
So, that all being said, do you envision yourself getting Twilight Princess HD?
No.
Why?
I don't know. I told you I was saying no to everything. No, because actually Twilight Princess is one of the Zelda games I haven't beat, or let alone really played. I think I played the beginning of it, but it was since Ocarina of Time, other than the handheld games, Zelda's kind of just fallen off the map for me.
Yeah, well, that's because you, like, in the recent generations, you've been focusing more on PlayStation and Xbox, which I did too. I mean, hell, I don't even own a Wii. I don't even own a Nintendo system more current than the Super Nintendo at the moment. And I also have not played a lot of the Zelda games, which will be getting fixed in August. Yes. Because as part of, you know, us celebrating the 30 year anniversary, we're going to dedicate August, I believe is the month, to Zelda.
Surprisingly, this game, not part of that celebration.
Good point. Yeah, we already know basically what games we're going to be playing for that. So hopefully you'll be around in August and looking forward to that. As far as getting this game goes for me, I'm going to reserve saying one way or the other for now until because honestly, I've played a little bit of the original Zelda, and that is literally it.
Oh, you're in for a treat.
Yeah. So, everything I've heard about it, I'm going to just go ahead and say yes, yay. But, you know, that could change. We'll see. It probably won't, knowing my taste in games, but we'll see. That will do it for Twilight Princess. Moving on to the next game. It's Tom Clancy's The Division, releasing on March 8th for the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One and PC, I believe.
Sure.
Developed by Ubisoft Montreal and published by Ubisoft.
Yeah, we did research.
Yep. Well, we did, and I didn't put it in the show notes because I'm a genius.
Yes. PC, PlayStation 4, Xbox One.
Did
Ubisoft
I get it?
Massive.
Massive. Okay, that's not I don't believe that's Montreal. So, developed by Ubisoft Massive and published by Ubisoft. There we go. This is their kind of...
Ubisoft Massive is in Sweden, so no, I don't think it's Ubisoft Montreal.
Nope. Anyway, this is basically their new IP that they've been pushing the last few years, after Watch Dogs. And this is a MMO shooter set in a virus-stricken New York. And I've been following a bit of the open betas that have been going on, and it looks rather intriguing. What looks intriguing to me isn't necessarily the player versus environment, like the Destiny type excursions. It's the player versus player, which takes place in what are called dark zones. And what happens in those is you're in this quarantined New York, and if you see another player out in the dark zone, you can make the choice to deliberately shoot them, and that marks you as rogue. And basically, it becomes if you kill enough of fellow players, a zone-wide manhunt begins, and if you survive, you get better loot. And if the reason why you might want to shoot another player is because you can see if they're carrying decent loot on their character model. So you can go, okay, that guy has a couple of legendary items. Let's take this fucker down. Sort of thing. And it becomes a risk versus reward sort of thing. And that looked interesting to me. So I'm actually going to go ahead and say a very slight play to this one. It remains to be seen if the player versus environment side of it will be able to hold up to the player versus player. But I'm cautiously optimistic.
And so I had a few friends that played the beta and absolutely loved it. And they're trying to talk me into this stupid game. And I say stupid, not because I think it's going to be a terrible game or even a bad game. It probably is going to be a great game. But like many of these games lately, I can't keep up. Not that I'm good enough or my whatever. It's if you pick The Division as your game that you want to play, the rest of your backlog builds up because all you're going to be playing is The Division.
Yep.
Keep up with everybody. Listen, I was late to the Destiny party. We all got into it a few months ago, and we all got together a few times and played it. And then I had to play games for this project, so I didn't play it for a week. And came back, and I was 15 levels behind everybody.
Yep.
And that's what I worry about what's going to happen here. I'm going to get in there with a group of people, and then life's going to take over, as it does, and then you're going to go back and go, oh, I'm so behind now, what's the point? Yep. It could be absolutely great, but for what we're trying to do here, The Division completely counteracts that.
Yeah.
So, no matter as much... I don't even want to look at the beta. Like, I don't want to fall in love with this game. Basically, because I'm avoiding it like the plague.
Yep.
So it's a nay, but it could be very good.
Speaking of shooting games with online aspects that just recently had betas, the next game on the release docket for these next 2 weeks is Hitman, coming out March 11th for the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. Developed by IO Interactive and published by Square Enix. I'm pretty sure IO Interactive still exists. I'm just going based off of memory, knowing that IO Interactive did the Hitman games. This is basically their kind of like reboot of the franchise. I'm going to say it's got like creation tools for people to create their own missions, and they were going to experiment around with it a little bit. It was originally going to be free to play, and then you could buy, whatever piecemeal content you wanted. And then they basically came out and said, well, now you pay $15 for the initial game, and then you'll have the content. But the $15 version of the game will have more than we were going to give you free to play.
Yes.
Which was kind of a weird little, snafu. I still maintain that it was just basically Sony and Microsoft went to Square Enix and said, we don't know what the fuck you're doing, but you need to fix it. Because Square Enix was really being kind of gung-ho about this is going to be a different way to do episodic content, and then all of a sudden they went, we're just doing it the same way we used to. So have fun with that. That being said, I haven't seen much of the gameplay for this. I played a little bit of, oh my goodness, I want to say it was Contracts was the last Hitman game I played. So a long ass time ago. It was an interesting little, time, and it'd be interesting to see how it's kind of evolved since Contracts, because I heard Absolution was okay-ish. And then they went back to the drawing board for this one to kind of fix some of the things and really bring it into the next gen. So, I am, however, going to go with nay for right now. just because, again, not much of a shooter fan.
Well, that's what I like about Hitman. I mean, the whole point is not to shoot.
Valid. Okay, yeah.
I mean, you can shoot.
Good point. Yeah.
And what I liked about the original Hitman games was it was kind of like Metal Gear Solid in the fact that they want you to be stealthy, but if something goes wrong, the mission's just not over. You can you can work your way out of the predicament that you got in. I've watched a little bit of the beta, and it intrigues me. I like the different ways that you can kill your targets. I like the creativity that they've thrown into all of that, and that's why this is a very big play for me. This is the opposite of the Division. They're going to be giving me Hitman in little baby chunks, which works really well when working on the backlog as well. So their whole point is, here's a chunk, play it to your heart's content, find all the different ways to beat it if you wish, or just play it once and beat it and then wait. And that works out great. I mean, we've seen it work with Telltale, with story games, and I'm not a huge fan of that because then you're waiting 2 months for the story to continue, and then you're worried about if you remember what's going on in the story. Hitman, sure, there's a story thrown into it, and you're worried about Agent 47 and all that, or whatever his backstory is, but it's not the crust of the game. I mean, it's all about finding creative ways to kill your target. So playing this in small chunks throughout the year or years really interests me, especially that because they're starting it out at $15, and it's not like spend $60 now and then in a year you'll have spent $200 on our game. Money grab. It's legit. We want to give this in pieces, and it's not just we're trying to take money from you. We're actually trying something different, and I like that style.
All right. So, yeah, that's Hitman. And last on the player nay for this episode, EA Sports UFC 2, releasing on March 15th, developed by EA Sports, published by Electronic Arts, yada, yada, yada. This is just EA paid big money for the UFC franchise, and this is their second game in that partnership. I seem to remember the first EA UFC was okay, but didn't exactly set the world on fire. And they did support it a little bit after launch. And then this one is, trying to fix some of the problems and bring it back to the forefront. The main thing I know about this game is, that they had the cover announcement and they said Holly Holm is going to be on the cover, and then, or not Holly Holm, fucking Ronda Rousey. There we go. And then Holly Holm knocked her the fuck out. It was like, Rousey's gonna be on the cover. Next day, Rousey gets knocked the fuck out. And then I think they kind of had to salvage it because they went, either McGregor or Aldo is going to be on the cover based on the results of the vote and the match. And then, McGregor knocked Aldo the fuck out. There's that, and then the fact that they're going to have CM Punk in the game, because he is under UFC contract still. And I just remember that because people got upset because the ratings were revealed and he had an 85 overall. And people were like, he hasn't even had a fight yet.
You can't say it's wrong, because he hasn't had a fight yet.
Yeah.
You don't know it's not 85.
Yeah. But, so, I remember when UFC, was it Unleashed or Undisputed on the 360?
Something.
I'm pretty sure it was Undisputed.
Maybe.
But I just remember you and I had fun with playing that.
Undisputed.
Yeah. And just because it just became us just throwing haymakers at each other after a while.
Yeah, the UFC game turns into like a lot of boxing games for me.
Yeah.
I'll watch the UFC. I don't know all the technical stuff about the UFC, and I don't take the time in a video game to learn all of that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So it becomes a button masher and just goofing around, really. This is a nay for me for that reason. Maybe at some point in a bargain bin, we might pick it up and goof around with it for a couple YouTube videos or something. But, as far as to get into the career modes and online play and stuff, it's probably going to be a decent game, but it's not my style.
Yeah. That pretty much sums it up for me, because what I was going to say was, was I actually played the original Undisputed for a while. I actually made a character and went through the career mode. And I just remember one of my favorite moments of that game for me was in the lead up to in career mode to getting my first shot against the UFC heavyweight champion, which of course was Brock Lesnar at the time. They
said that wrong.
Brock Lesnar. I cannot do Paul Heyman. Sorry. But they have the articles, quote unquote, that they do between fights, and this one was just entirely like, Wes's opponent says he's been training by drinking protein shakes made with eels and sharks, and like just completely over the top like bro moment. You know what I mean? It was, and I laughed my ass off, and I don't think EA Sports would have the ability to have that kind of sense of humor in their game.
No.
So it's an A for me as well. I mean, nothing against UFC. Like I said, I'm pretty much right there with you. I'll watch it, but I'm not super in-depth into it. I just like seeing people get knocked the fuck out. So, especially in hilarious fashion. So, yeah. If it's a bargain bin, sure, why not? Anyway, so that'll do it for Player Name for this episode. Next up is our discussions on the games we played for this episode. And how this works is we have one game we both played, and then one game each one of us played and the other didn't. And we just kind of have discussions on the game, what we liked, what we didn't like, etc., etc. And as always, we'll just go ahead and start off with our co-played game. Get it out of the way here, and that's Star Fox for the Super Nintendo. Released on March 26, 1993, developed and published by Nintendo. And we'll just get right on it here. This is a really short game, but neither of us beat it. And here's why. Both of us have RPGs for our games that we each played this episode. Those take a long time to beat. What's also going on in this episode is both of us are preparing for our 1-year anniversary charity marathon live stream benefiting the Children's Medical Network hospitals through Extra Life. And that took up a lot of our time in these between episodes, and then trying to play an RPG on top of that.
Yeah, on top of we both work and stuff. I hate to make excuses for our listeners. We have a lot of games that we've attempted to play and haven't beaten and stuff, and that happens in the backlog. But, like, really, with Star Fox, I know I started it today. Yeah. I got to the final boss on the first level. There's basically 3 levels in this game. Basically, they're kind of difficulty levels. Yeah. But you can get to the credits and finish a game on the first level. There's 6 stages, I think, in the first level. But really have not been able to delve into it. I know you got into it even less. Yeah. But really, we've been doing a lot of just tech stuff for this thing, for the 24-hour thing that happens on Thursday. And on top of the RPGs, I went into the one I'll be playing, thinking it's Super Nintendo RPG, it won't take as long. I was spacing it out, and then it hit a couple roadblocks I wasn't expecting, and it kind of drug on more than I was hoping to, and all of a sudden here I am the day of recording going, well, let me give Star Fox a shot. Hopefully I can one-shot it. And, I didn't quite do it. Yeah. And, So, Star Fox is basically what I played of Star Fox is it's a shooter game, and the main thing about it is pretty much the advertisement for the Mode 7 capability of the Super Nintendo. Yeah, and you can definitely tell that that's exactly what it was, because it's so short, because there's not a lot to it. I mean, most of the story is told through the manual, which I don't own, so I've missed most of it, just looking things up for research. Excuse me, sorry. Talking about all these different things, breaking down the planets and stuff that you go to. Yeah. None of that is in the game. They just throw you into the missions and say, have at it. I will say the controls are okay. Aiming is frustratingly difficult just because I'm not used to it yet. Yeah. I think because the game is so short, it is meant for mini playthroughs.
Mm-hmm.
And by that point, you have gotten used to it. You're so up close to the ship or in first person, and then when you don't have a joystick to move around with it, it's just different than what we're used to nowadays.
Yeah.
As far as shooters, but it works out pretty well. Everything is polygons. That's the graphics. And that's basically it. You go through a shooter mission like you would in, old school, like 1942 and things like that, but, in 3D, and then you hit a boss at the end and rinse and repeat. Again, I would like to do a more in-depth review on stuff, but we just didn't get the time and into it.
Yeah. Usually we like to try to go for about 30 minutes on our co-played game. There is no way in hell we're getting anywhere close to that. We've barely even gone 3 minutes, and we've already basically exhausted what we feel comfortable talking about. I'm sure at some point we will come back to this and talk about it more. Like, at one point I want to sit down and do an episode just talking about stuff, we left by the wayside.
Yeah.
That would be an interesting thing to do. This would definitely be top of the list.
Yes.
Because, like Randy alluded to, I played this game even less. I've been, and it's just basically life happened this last couple of weeks, and when life wasn't happening, I needed to be working on marathon stuff, or Wild Arms.
I will say one other thing that I can bring up is the music's pretty good, especially the first stage, which is the iconic one, which people will remake and do whatever to.
Yep.
But the other music is pretty good too. It keeps you upbeat. And like I said, didn't get to play this very much, but what I did play of was enjoyable. That's for sure. I mean, the levels are pretty short. I mean, it's basically one of those games. It's like, I got a half hour. I'll dink around on Star Fox.
Yeah. Yep. Which is what you can say for a lot of games of that era. So, that'll do it for Star Fox for now. We will revisit it at some point, I'm sure. But we will go ahead and move on to Randy's game.
Yes.
Which was Super Mario RPG Legend of the Seven Stars for the Super Nintendo. Released May 13th, 1996. March 9th, 1996 in Japan. Which makes me feel old as hell.
Makes you feel old.
Yeah, well, I was 20 years old, or I was 6 years old, excuse me, when this game came out. And, So, take it away, Mr. Isabel. I'm curious to see.
But, okay, so here we are, 1 year anniversary, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't beat either fucking game. Not only do I not beat either game, I literally got to the final boss on both games.
Nice.
And have gotten stuck. But let's just talk about Super Mario RPG. I came into this kind of worried because the reason we went with this game for me was because on our first 2 episodes we did Earthbound, which was a childhood memory of Wes that I squashed into the ground like a grape.
Yep.
So I came into this going, okay, I'm just going to go in and not even think about Earthbound. Mm-hmm. I'm just going to give it its own due. And you know what? If I have to put Earthbound and Super Mario RPG side by side, I think Super Mario RPG destroys it. Straight up and down. Like, I talked about with Earthbound how I didn't really feel like they did a ton different in the battle system. Mm-hmm. They had the counting HP counter, but everything else was really old school RPG, which was fine. Super Mario RPG really... I don't know if there's a game before it where it did the timed attacks. This may be the first time?
Not off the top of my head, and honestly, it's not a mechanic you see used very often. Like, the only other game I can think of with a timed hit mechanic is Final Fantasy VIII, and that's only for Squall.
You played one, kind of. I mean, they made it a bigger deal, but Legend of Dragoon...
Oh, yeah, good point.
...has the whole big
the addition system. Jesus Christ. Speaking of our first episode, as I choke on air, excuse me. Jesus Christ.
But yeah, you don't see that much, and I very much enjoy it just for the fact that it keeps you involved. Like, the battle system, again, is very, very basic. I mean, you're not going to expect much from the Super Nintendo as far as, like, crazy battle systems. But it takes that simplicity and adds a twist to it. Which also, I have learned, later on in the game really becomes a huge thing that if you're struggling with a boss, it really is coming down to you just don't have the timing down of blocking it. Or because you can block their attacks as well and make the damage less. And I've learned
that there are some attacks that are not blockable, but true.
But I'm trying to think which boss it was, but I died 2 or 3 times. It was the Prism Rangers or whatever.
Axum Rangers. The Axum Rangers were one of my childhood roadblocks too. Like I can tell you exactly what I was doing when I first beat the Axum Rangers because it was that much of a memory to me.
Yeah. So
But
so basically, the Axum Rangers, there are 5 of them. It's a spoof on the Power Rangers. Obviously, they have all the different colors and stuff, and they all have their own different techniques. And you have to take all 5 of them at once, but one at a time. And each of them has their own little attack animation or whatever. Well, I got stuck on it for a while, a lot longer than I would like to admit. And then just one day, turned it on and really started focusing in on their animations. And it became a breeze. Yeah. Just for the fact that now their attacks are doing half damage or whatever the bonus is for hitting the A button at the right time. So that's a big deal. The one thing I don't like about the battle system, and it's just something, maybe it's because it's something you've just never seen before, is they make it really simple, which I like, that each button on your controller went to a different menu. Yeah. Instead of like a Final Fantasy where you're scrolling through menus to go to attack or items or anything, they made each button go to each one, which is great, but it was a mental block that it took a long time to get through, that once you went into that menu, you continued to select in that menu using the button that you went to it in. I don't know how many times I went to go heal somebody, hit this...
The Y button.
The Y button. I just remember the left. I'm looking at the PlayStation controller. I almost said square. So the button to go into the magic, and then I would hit A twice, just trying to get through it, and all of a sudden I'm attacking.
Whoops. Yeah.
And going, oh.
Yeah.
Again, I don't want to shoot it down for that. Yeah. Because it is something different and it is something new, and I liked the idea around it. Mm-hmm. But yeah. It's very simple, but in a decent way. I don't know if you want to elaborate on it, because, I mean, this is your childhood, but, I mean, back in the day, there was not much more simple than this, don't you think?
No, I know. It's a pretty simple... Well, I'm going to say deceptively simple, because as you found out, to your detriment, this game does have some teeth to it if you're not prepared.
Yes.
Like, your main thing was you were not a fan of the status effects, and the reason why I bring that up is because it is literally one of the first things you wrote in our show notes, in our production notes, because we have a Google Doc that we kind of like, here's what we're probably going to be talking about, sort of thing. And one of the first notes you said was about status effects, and yet, near the very end of the game, you got stuck on a boss because of a status effect, and you would figure that when one of your complaints was there's a lot of status effects, you would be on the lookout for ways to negate that. And yet you had to be told where the wake-up pin was.
Well, okay, so let's get into that. I mean, if you want to call me out, yes, the game really does, after a while, because it's very simple, adds the difficulty in the status effects, putting you to sleep, turning you into a mushroom, turning you into a scarecrow, things like that. So basically, I bet, Valentina is a boss that she has one move that puts your entire party to sleep. And then by the time anybody would try to wake up, I was dead. And it was really getting frustrated because I was just wiping through this boss until that one move would hit, and then it'd be game over. Mm-hmm. The reason why I had to come to you and ask is because I thought I was stuck. Because if you, at the save point, if you go to exit the room the other direction, like I was going to go to the item shop, Mallow, which is one of your sidekicks, who turns out to be a prince, says, no, we can't go that way. So I'm like, great, I'm stuck in here. I'm totally effed. Mm-hmm. So I asked you if there's maybe something else that I wasn't thinking of. You told me where to get the pin. I found a different way out of the situation back to the world map. And was able to work my way through it. So, I mean, I'm not saying it's a terrible thing, but when you have such a simple game, like, there's a good chunk like, I want to say the middle-ish portion where it's all of the enemies are really weak, but they all do something.
Yeah.
Like they want to put you to sleep or turn you into a mushroom or poison you, and none of them are doing like crazy damage. So the reason why I even put the note was like I could have all mushrooms and just sit there, and then while they're doing 4 damage to me over and over, and then I'm back, and then they do it again. So I'd have a fight where it'd go 10 minutes long, and all I had to do is have 3 attacks in.
Yep.
And to kill them, but I just could not do it because the game has decided that you're going to turn into a mushroom 3 times in this fight, and a scarecrow 4. So that's what I meant by at times it gets a little.
Yeah. Well, I guess what I'm saying though is at some point you have to kind of go, okay, this is how this game is going to go, and adapt.
I agree, and they give you items that allow you to do that, but
yeah, yeah. So, I think we've basically covered kind of like the battle system, because it's a fairly simple affair apart from the timed hits. It's basic gameplay. So, we'll talk a little, I want to talk a little bit, what did you think of the story of this game?
There's no story in this game.
Excuse me?
There's no story in this game. There's one character in this entire game that has character development, and that's Mallow.
So you're saying that this entire game is just fucking around for the sake of fucking around, is what you're trying to say.
This is your typical old school RPG where they throw in the mission, and then that's it. Like, Mallow has a progression because he thinks he's a toad for a while, finds out he was not a toad, and then he finds out later he was the prince of Nimbus place.
Nimbus Land, yeah.
But, Bowser kind of has a progression as he fights over whether he's evil or good or tries to continue to look like he's a bad guy.
But, by the way, just to back up for a second before we move on, the thing I love about Mallow finding out he's not a toad is they take that completely straight-faced, like with the dramatic music sting and everything. Like when Toad Fuchsia says you're not a toad, they do like the dun dun dun, and everybody like jumps back like shocked. You know?
No, and that was great, and there are a lot of comical moments in this game, and that's where I enjoyed the quote unquote story. But this is where I say there's no story to it. You start out, Princess gets kidnapped by Bowser. Here we go again.
Because, of course, it's a Mario game, yeah.
You go to save her, then a big sword comes down, and, the bridge comes out, so now you're trying to figure out how to get to Bowser's castle, and you meet, what the hell is it, Nero? What that guy's name? Gino. Gino, I know he's, like, iconic to this game. I've heard about. I never used him. Like, once I got Bowser, that was it. I used Mario, Bowser, and Toadstool.
That's actually probably part of your problem because Gino is a pretty damn good character. He has a offense defense buff. He has some of the most powerful specials in the game.
Yeah, but I don't use specials in that game because I'll get to that complaint later. But it's not really a complaint; it's a strategy thing. But
which I guess we actually hadn't finished talking about the battle system because that is part of the battle system. But
we'll get back to it. So basically, you find him and he says that this person has, come down and he's taken the 7 stars and
basically, when the sword came down into Bowser's Keep, it smashed through Star Road and split 7 star pieces off. Hence, Legend of the 7 Stars. And basically, you meet Gino after you've already found the first one, which was in Mushroom Kingdom.
I think you're on your way to the second one.
Yeah, because Forest Maze is the second one. Yeah. And Gino goes, well, that's a star piece, and there are 7 of them, and I need to get this. I need to get them all and get Star Road fixed so we can try and fix this situation, because that sword that came down to Bowser's Keep is from a guy that's really evil. We need to fix this. Let's go.
Yes.
And then the rest of the game is you going and getting star pieces on your way to get to the castle, which I think it still qualifies as a story. I guess that's an agree to disagree, but I think that a story means they have a reason for what they're doing, and they have a reason for what they're doing. It isn't just, well, there are stars.
No, that's a plot. That's not a story. I mean, if you wanted to write this plot down on a piece of paper, you have it down on a page. Mm-hmm. Sword comes down, stars go that way, they went and collected them. That's it. Which is totally fine, but that's why I'm saying there's not much story to it. Because there's never any time where you get sidetracked to go learn about a side story of the princess or Mario. Like, I really think Nintendo was very protective of their characters. So, I mean, you had the Bowser stuff because obviously he joined your party, so he's going to have inner conflict.
Yeah.
And Mallow has a decent enough story.
Yeah.
But Gino, you know nothing about. He just, I need to save the things. All right. And then he's never in another cutscene until right at the end. He's just there. So you go to different places, is basically you're just getting stars. You meet some interesting characters, but none of them are really delved into. And then at the end, and this is, I was going to bring this up, and I didn't even put it in the notes because I didn't have time, but you get to one of the final stages, and you get to the 6 doors in Bowser's.
Oh, God.
Which you have to go through 4 of them. It says 2 of them are supposed to be riddles or whatever, puzzle rooms. 2 were combat rooms, and 2 were jumping puzzles. The very first one I went into was one of the question rooms, and you have to answer questions. One of the questions they asked is, what is the main bad guy's name? And the only reason why I laughed at it was you heard it when Gino talks about it. That's the only time they talk about him other than a couple enemies going, we have to get this back to the smithy.
Yeah.
We have to get it back to him. Not once does he appear. Just at no point does he become a thing.
Yeah.
Which makes the final boss, even though he's kicking my ass right now, anything memorable. Like, the thing I like about RPGs, most of the RPGs I've played are Final Fantasy, is the main boss, well, and sometimes they're not even the final boss, then they kind of pull a Super Mario RPG where they throw in another one after that. But like why I like Final Fantasy VII is Sephiroth is dead at all points. And then finally you get to take him down. With Super Mario, there's a dude named Smithy. We have no idea what he's like. We heard he's an evil bastard, but that's it. He keeps throwing shit at us. But at the end, it's whatever, dude. I mean, I could have met him, and he goes, no, I'm just making toys. Here, let me turn it off. I'm sorry. And I would have believed him.
Well, he does look like Santa Claus, I guess, but...
He kind of does. But, like, so this is where I'm at. Like, the battle system is simplistic, but they add an element that you haven't really seen at this point. The storyline is very basic. There's not much there. There's nothing to be really in-depth to. If you ask me about this game, if we hit the 2-year anniversary mark, there's very little from the story that I'm going to remember.
Okay.
But, I mean, I'm going to remember characters. I'm going to remember moments. But as far as, like, the plot is simple. There's 7 stars, go get it. Which is fine. You don't have to have a story in these. Right. But that's why I said there's not much story to it. What I liked about it is it really uses the environment. It uses the world of Mario. It sets itself apart from a lot of the RPGs of the day because it uses the platforming elements that is Mario, not only in the gameplay, but as puzzle solving and just to get through it. And one of the things I actually found hilarious was, especially early on in the game, you would come into a town and they go, is this the legendary Mario?
Jump for me!
And you would jump. And they go, oh my god, it is! Yeah. Like, you're the only one in the world that can jump. Yeah. But, I mean, so the humor's great. Like, it's just obviously nostalgia because you know Mario and all of that. And they really put it together well. But, as I'm sure we will get to later in the project, like the Paper Mario games that have kind of come off of this, I'm sure there's more of an in-depth story because obviously they're on newer systems that can hold that stuff. So I don't know. I would say this is better than Earthbound, but if you're like sitting there trying to tell me it's one of the best RPGs of all time, I'm still not there, but I'm in a better mood about it than I was with Earthbound. Yeah. Earthbound just drove me absolutely nuts. Super Mario, it was more of this is a fun game. I'm having issues at times,
Yeah.
but I have no problem with difficulty. I just need to get through it. But it's not anything I'm going to go, oh my god, there's nothing better than this.
Yeah. So, I know you were just like in full-on recap mode there, but there is something I do want to talk about, and that is the strategy aspect of the game, because this game is rather unique in that you have a shared ability point pool, basically, for lack of a better term. I suppose the better term to use would be mana pool. Yeah. Because in this game, your specials are cost what are called flower points. And your flower points are shared between your party. So if you cast Group Hug with Princess Peach, for example, that's, let's see if I get this
4.
right off the top of my head. 4?
Sorry.
Yeah.
I didn't know you were going to quiz yourself. It's 4.
Yeah, it's 4 that's 4 FP that you're not going to be able to use for, say, Geno Boost or Geno Whirl. Which, by the way, if you time Geno Whirl correctly, you can kill everything in one hit. Geno is pretty fucking overpowered.
I wouldn't know. I never used the deal.
Well, I'm trying to tell you, some of your problems are probably because you have not been using Geno.
No, because I like Bowser. Bowser's fun.
Well, no, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with Bowser, but I'm just saying, like...
But that's also the point. I think I never really got into Geno, is because pretty early on, well, I guess it was after you got Geno, is like I started to realize that my main strategy for almost everything, especially any boss, it's time attack with Bowser, time attack with Mario, group hug with Peach. Rinse, repeat, rinse, repeat. Because especially so many of these bosses would take you down where they would do half of your damage. Mm-hmm. So I was like, well, I can't just attack with Peach. I can't do anything different. So she's just going to heal the whole time, and we're just going to do this over and over until they hit 0. So much so that I think some of my bosses took longer because a lot of my bosses ran out of their own FP.
Nice. I don't think I ever had that problem, but...
it's not a problem. It was wonderful.
Well, no, what I'm trying to say is I don't ever remember having a boss run out of FP ever while I played this game.
Again, so, I think the strategy I came up with was a tedious, slow, I'm going to work my way through this. There's probably better strategies to it.
Yeah. Because, this game... I played it a lot back in the day. There's stuff I know you missed, like the Lazy Shell. There's the Cool X boss fight in Monster Town, which is amazing because it's literally a Final Fantasy style boss that gets transported into Super Mario RPG with pretty epic music, even for Super Mario RPG. Which that's another thing I want to talk about. What did you think of the music?
It was alright.
Okay, because. I have not played this game in a long time, but here's the thing I'm actually kind of realizing. Super Mario RPG is actually more etched into my memory than Earthbound is, which is shocking for me to realize. Because
it's better.
Because, I was sitting here, and I was, the other day, and I just suddenly started humming the boss theme, and then I realized when you started saying you were playing fighting Smithy, I started hearing Smithy's boss theme in my head. The soundtrack is a pretty damn good soundtrack in my opinion. The battle themes are all amazing. I will say that the non-battle themes I'm having trouble remembering, but the battle themes, oh my god.
I don't want to go that far, but they're good. I mean, there's not one song where I went, well, this is super generic and terrible. Yeah. They all had a nice feel to it. Mm-hmm. I enjoyed all of them. But even right now, I can't sit there and go, obviously I have not played it over and over and over like you have, but there's not one where I go, I can hum this right now.
Yeah.
But it's alright. I was going to go somewhere and I forgot. Oh, so we'll take it from music to graphics. And the graphics are fine, but they were kind of jarring for me, only for the same fact. Again, I'm so used to Mario and Toadstool and Bowser, and they look mostly like they do. But there's a lot of enemies that you run onto that are well, that's kind of a Koopa Troopa, but why is it so mutilated?
Yeah.
Why is that one weird? The Goombas look about right, but there's a lot of enemies the spiky ones.
Yeah.
That look nothing like what they would. And it's one of those, it was just they decided to go a different way. So there's a lot of times they're oh, yeah, well, it's just different. I'm not saying it's good or bad, but there's a lot of times that just getting used to different kinds of graphical decisions. And I did run into a Bahamut, not a Bahamut. Yes, a Bahamut in a battle. That made me great because it is Square doing it with Nintendo. I'm like, hey, a Final Fantasy boss that I'm running into.
Oh, you would have loved Coolix if you unlocked him. Well, here's the thing about this. You borrowed my copy of this game.
Yes, and you're not getting it back for a couple days because I'm flipping finishing it.
Yeah. You can say fucking.
No. We're talking about Mario. You don't say fuck with Mario. I say fuck to Mario. But you don't say fuck when you're talking about Mario.
Oh, man. But, when I do get this game back from you, I am probably actually going to dig my Super Nintendo out of mothballs and play this game. Because I'm actually sitting here and going, it's been a while since I've played it. I really need to play it. Of course, I said that about Earthbound, too, and I still haven't gotten around to that because I'm sheer abject laziness. You know? But it's about time that I kind of went back and played some of these childhood games.
You'll be disappointed. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah. You'll probably love it.
Yep.
Trust me. We loaded up, a couple weeks ago. We were coming up with different games to play, and you loaded up Undertale, which is a game you'll be playing in a couple months.
Yeah.
But you went ahead and downloaded it and stuff, and you played like the first 5 minutes of it, and you gut rolled at something that I didn't find funny at all. So our humor sometimes could be completely different. So you might still love it. Yeah. I don't know.
Actually, honestly, I'm probably going to try to play Undertale a little bit before that point, but just because it's getting harder and harder for me to avoid spoilers on it, and from what I've heard about Undertale, it's something you want to play unspoiled. So, yeah. Anyway, so that's going to do it for Super Mario RPG, I believe, unless you have anything else you want to cover real quick.
Not that I can think of.
Okay, wow, we went a lot longer on that game than I thought we would.
I gotta fix up for Star Fox, man. We got nothing on Star Fox. Yeah. So I figured out I would pick at your childhood a little bit.
Yep.
I can't go too deep or I'd be lying because again, it's very simple but enjoyable.
Yeah. All right, and that's a pretty accurate description for my game too. Is simple but enjoyable because my game was Wild Arms for the PlayStation 1, released on April 30th, 1997. Developed by Mediavision and published by Sony. And this is a interesting little RPG because the best way to describe this would be to call it a Western sci-fi fantasy RPG.
Okay, so before you get into anything, I want to say I've played this one, like bits and pieces when I was young. I just have to ask before anything, are the graphics terrible? Because, I mean, that's the thing with PlayStation 1. You go back and play PlayStation 1 games, and oh boy, some of them. So I gotta ask, is this a PlayStation 1 game that has aged well, or not?
Kind of, because the thing is, the overworld, like the when you're running around, is sprite-based.
Okay.
So, and that has aged pretty damn well, I think. What the problem is because Wild Arms was published by Sony, and because it was the early days of the PlayStation, you know how Sony back in the day was, if you are going to publish on PlayStation, you will use the 3D, period, full stop, end of story. Well, for Wild Arms, they went, okay, we'll make the battles 3D. And oh boy, are the character models but fucking ugly in Wild Arms. I mean,
they have feelings, Wes.
They also have hydroencephaly. I mean, Jesus Christ. But yeah, the 90% of the game looks amazing because it's sprite-based. It's 2D, it's sprite-based.
Am I looking at the right game?
Yes, you are.
They look so cute.
But,
so basically, how about this? If you've never played Wild Arms, The picture I just looked at kind of reminded me of the Final Fantasy VI demo that they showed off that would have been on N64. Okay.
Yeah, it is very much an early kind. It's very much them developers still figuring out how they wanted to treat 3D. It is a perfect way to describe it. It was just them kind of going, okay, how do we translate these sprites to 3D now? And that was just the first attempt they made. And they went, okay, sure, we'll roll that. But again, it's just the 3D stuff for the most part in this game. I mean, it's not completely terrible, but it definitely has not aged well. It is very much early, PlayStation 1 3D. That being said, this game, you play as, you only have, you play as just 3 characters, and it actually introduces all 3 of them to you right away, and something that I found pretty cool. You actually start Wild Arms, you can choose which character you start as, and then there's like a short miniature dungeon that you run through of each character that, introduces them to you, and then they all meet up, and then you go from there. And this game is basically, you are in this world called Fulgaia.
So, do you do all 3, or do you just pick one?
You do all 3.
Okay.
You have to finish all 3, and then once you finish all 3, it goes, okay, now get them all to this location here, which they're all, like, really close to. And then they'll meet up, and then you go from there with a full party. And then after that point, there's only, like, one point in the game where you do not have all 3 members of your party. Which is rather refreshing, actually. Not having to go, okay, I've relied on this person to do all my stuff. Oh shit, I don't have them for, all this part of the, for various parts of the game. But, basically, the main character is Rudy. And he is a teenage boy who can, control, I forget what the exact acronym is, but, ARM is an acronym for a weapon, basically, and he can use this arm, this weapon, which shoots various different kinds of bullets, and that is his special attack. And then you have Cecilia, who is the princess of the kingdom of Adelheid, and she's pretty much standard white mage princess 101. She's trying to help her kingdom, but she's not sure how to do it. She's not sure of herself. And then there's Jack, who is a treasure hunter. And it sounds cliche, but they take it in some interesting directions. You actually find out, because Fulgaia is a dying world, basically. Like, 90% of the world map is desert. And a large part of Wild Arms is figuring out what happened, because basically in the backstory to this game is it was humans versus demons, and the demons in this game are actually living metal, and it's.
Are they twisted?
Oh God! Oh. I hate you so much.
By the way, ARMS, I looked it up, ancient relic machines.
There we go. I knew it was ancient, and I had a feeling it was machine, and I could not remember what R was. But, it's basically 1,000 years ago, humans and demons were warring, and then, a weapon called the Guardian Blade was, used, and it basically cracked the world in half. And the demons went away for a while, and now they're resurfacing, and it's this, the main antagonists for this game are, this organism known only as Mother, and then, she has her Quarter Knights, which are 4, demons that you face throughout the game. And here's what I liked about Wild Arms, storyline wise. They actually, to counterpoint what you were saying about Smithy and Super Mario RPG, you see a lot of cuts to Mother and the Quarter Knights. I keep wanting to say Order of No Quarter because I've been watching a lot of Shovel Knight recently. But, Quarter Knights. And throughout the first half of the game, they cut back and forth between your party and the Quarter Knights a lot. Like, you know what the Quarter Knights are doing, and, they're trying to revive Mother, and they're trying to stop you. Because you basically get given, after you finish your first 3 mini-dungeons, you're basically given the directive from the Guardians, the Guardian Spirits of the planet, to go stop this evil from happening. So it basically becomes your party versus the Quarter Knights, and you see a bunch of the Quarter Knight stuff happening. And about 10 to 15 hours into the game, you get to their main base of operations, which is called the Photosphere, and you finally get all the way to Mother, and you fight Mother, and it's very much, a PlayStation 1 era, final battle type setting. The psychedelic, Technicolor dreamscape, specialized music, epic confrontation. You kill her, and they do the whole collapsing base thing. Like, they sell hard that this is the last dungeon. You know what I mean? You get what I'm trying to say. Yeah. Like, it's an epic confrontation, Deus Ex Machina, your friends come and save you, and you're all on the ship going, whew, we stopped that, we did that. And then one of the Quarter Knights teleports in and goes, nah, thanks for killing her, but we're going to take over the planet anyway. See ya. And the second part of the game is stopping him now, because he has a different plan. And I loved that, because it was like, okay, that was well executed. Because usually in PlayStation 1 RPGs that I've found, yeah, they're building up some main antagonist for the first bit of the game, but you're aware, by the time you actually face that antagonist, you're aware that they're not actually the guy you're looking for here. Like, to go back to Final Fantasy VIII, you spend most of Disc 1, chasing after Ida. And just for the simple reason that the game's 4 discs long, Ida isn't the final boss, but the game is selling it like it's this massive confrontation. You get what I'm trying to say?
Yes.
Whereas Wild Arms, they sell it, and they actually get away with it because they, did it right. So I actually love the story to this game. I'm underselling it a lot because I'm rambling, as I usually do, because my story notes are not in this document for some reason. But I loved the storyline to this game. I will say the gameplay is it's pretty bog standard RPG. There's no like timed hits or anything. Rudy's arms, you just find them in various dungeons throughout the world, and then you can upgrade their accuracy and their power at vendors throughout in the various towns. And I will say that's kind of unique in that each one of them has their own ammo count. That if you use a certain attack more than, if you rely too much on a certain attack, you're going to run out of bullets and then not be able to use that attack for a while until you can either use a bullet clip, which are actually fairly rare in the game, or go back to town and get it reloaded for a small amount of money. So that is kind of unique. Cecilia's spells are pretty bog standard. The way you get them, though, is actually unique now that I think about it. You find crest graphs throughout the world.
What?
Crest graphs.
What is that?
Magic. The magic, it's an item you find in the world.
Yeah, I know, it's an item. I was going to have you describe the item.
It's I think they describe it like a piece of paper, pretty much, okay. Like a binding focus.
Okay.
You take it to a mage's guild, and this is the cool part. You can actually choose which spells you learn for Cecilia at any time. They have there are 4 elements, like earth, wind, fire, and water, I think. It sounds about right. Yeah, earth, wind, fire, and water. And they have white magic and black magic, and then you can choose the 2 elements, like fire and fire. Black magic gets you fire spell, right? And there are 64 different spells in Wild Arms, 32 basic ones and 32 advanced ones. And the thing is, though, you're only going to be using about 5 of them, from what I've found. That like defense down, speed down, your speed up, and then the healing magic is basically all I used. But the thing about it is, you can actually rename them to anything you want, which is a pretty neat touch. Like you can rename your teleport spell, you know, you can rename your heal spell to, you know, cure instead of what they use. You know, you can rename them something you're more familiar with instead of what they want to try to use, because some of the default spell names are kind of weird. I'll grant them that much. And then Jack's special attacks are called fast draws, and you find them by basically doing random shit in the world. There are a couple you learn automatically after boss fights, but a few of them are downright obscure to find. And I actually stumbled across one that I was like, okay. And then you actually don't learn his right away. They just tell you, oh, hey, you have a new attack, and you have to keep trying to use it until he goes, oh, hey, this is actually what this attack is. So the way you learn, I suppose I should say the way you learn the attacks is kind of unique, but once you've learned them, they're bog standard RPG fare. As far as the difficulty of this game goes, for the first half of the game up to the mother fight, it was fairly easy for me. After that point, the bosses started kicking my ass. Because the boss fights basically become after the first half of the game. I think they realized that, wow, we gave the player a bit too much power. So the bosses just become all out slugfests. Like, the bosses can do some serious damage to you if you're not careful. So it basically becomes like you said, like you did with Super Mario RPG. It basically becomes Jack and Rudy are attacking and Cecilia is healing. Where it becomes different from Super Mario RPG is it's still is like I said, Jack and Rudy are downright broken with some of their attacks. Like by the end of the game, I was hitting the damage cap pretty much every attack because I was that fucking broken. You know, so it's an easy game, but I appreciated the storyline of it, and here's how much I enjoyed this game. I'm actually considering, there are a few games that are kind of shaky on me wanting to play them or not, that I just kind of put down to have them down, that I may go back and put Wild Arms 2 down, just to kind of continue the series. Cool. Because I got that invested into the world.
That was going to be my first question, is if you're going to play the sequel.
Yeah. That, and I kind of... It would have taken a lot for me to not want to play Wild Arms 2 after playing this, because while I was researching around for Wild Arms 1, I found out that apparently Wild Arms 2 has some of the worst the worst mistranslations of all time.
Oh.
So I kind of want to see what all the hype is about there. Yeah, in general, I loved this game. I wish it was a little bit harder, but that's just, I think that's just also down to me playing so many RPGs that I can kind of zero in and go, okay, that's fucking broken. Let's exploit the hell out of that. Yeah.
It's very nice to see that the game has aged well. Because I was looking things up while you were describing the game, mm-hmm. and it actually was the runner-up for role-playing game of the year in 1997.
Yeah.
I'm sure you can come up with what beat it.
Final Fantasy VII.
Correct.
Yep.
So, and would you agree Final Fantasy VII was better? Okay.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to run through it because 1997 was ridiculous as far as video games, let alone RPGs. So I'm just going to run through a few of them that came out in 1997. And
one thing real quick before you start doing that, I will say, music-wise, Wild Arms has some pretty darn good music. And the other thing about that is I kind of wish I had set this up, but the first time I got into a battle in Wild Arms, I had to check to make sure my computer hadn't started playing completionist video. Because the battle theme in Wild Arms, the regular battle theme in Wild Arms 1 is the music is the music Gerard Khalil uses underneath when he's doing the struggle at the end of his videos.
Oh, okay.
Which I found absolutely hilarious. Every single time I got into a battle, I was just like, completionist! Yay! I watch internet videos.
Yay.
Anyway, continue.
Okay, so I just want to run through a few RPGs that came out in 1997.
Mm-hmm.
If you have not played it yet, you can say you haven't played it. You don't have to come up with, I've heard this is good, or whatever. I just want to run through some of them. Another one that was high praise was Alundra.
Nope.
Actually, I looked it up. It came out the last day possible in 1997.
Nice.
Just to be part of the crazy crowd. I don't know if you've played it. I played a bit of it back in the day, just, bargain binned it once. It's called Azure Dreams.
Heard of it, have not played it.
I think if I remember right, it's one of the, you go up different levels of this tower, and then you can go back home. It's a slow tower, whatever. Grandia.
Yes. God, yes.
Which is better. I'm saying, which is Wild Arms or Grandia.
Oh, God, that's a really hard one. For nostalgia's sake, I'm going to have to go Grandia, because that was the Grandia was the next thing on my path of RPGs after the Super Nintendo Holy Trinity and then Final Fantasy VIII. My next stop was Grandia.
Okay.
So, but Grandia is a pretty decent game in its own right. Apart from the voice acting, but again, that's 1997. What the hell are you gonna do?
So you went Wild Arms or Grandia?
I would probably say Grandia.
Grandia.
Okay. I mean, but we're talking we're still talking top 5.
Okay. So not much like a classic RPG, but it's on this list. Castlevania Symphony of the Night also came out in 1997.
Nice.
Which would you prefer there?
That's kind of apples and oranges.
It is. That's what I said. It's just because it's on this list of games that I'm going through. Shining Force 3. Did you ever play any of the Shining Force games?
No.
I have not either. Okay, now we get to the big ones. Tales of Destiny?
Nope.
Saga Frontier?
Nope.
Breath of Fire 3?
Nope.
I've not beaten 3. I've beaten 2. I've gotten most of 1 done, and then I played a bit of 3.
A few of these, I think, at some point are going to become Backlog
Project absolutely. I'm right there with you, especially with the Breath of Fire games. I think Breath of Fire 3 just got a release on the PS4. Or I've seen somebody playing it, and it's showing up on the thing. So maybe it's a PS3.
I would probably say it's probably a PlayStation 1 classic.
Yeah. Final Fantasy Tactics.
Oh, hello. I've played it. I have War of the Lions, actually. And I keep saying I want to play it, and then I never do.
I actually just got it.
Yeah, you just bought it, yeah. You bought a PlayStation 1 copy.
Yes.
Like I said, I have the War of the Lions, the PSP, remake / enhancement / retranslation.
I own Tactics as a PlayStation 1 classic, but I just got the hard copy.
Yeah, because you're a unabashed collector.
Yes. Very behind, a big collection.
Excuse me, yikes, sorry.
And the last game on here, because I knew you played it, Fallout.
Nice. Yeah.
Did you put Fallout ahead of Wild Arms?
No. But I will also say I also think that's apples to oranges again, because Fallout is a Western RPG. It's more character plot driven. It's more how does your character react than it is your character is doing these things. If that makes any sense.
Yeah.
So, as an experience, Wild Arms beats Fallout, but I'm not saying that it's an objectively better game. I'm just saying, I think I'm more of a fan of the Eastern RPG type than I am the Western RPG type.
Yeah, I'm there with you. I can see that.
Yeah, because, I played through the Fallout series. I have Skyrim on my Steam account that I've never installed and played. I will get to at some point. But I always, I've always kind of gravitated more towards the Eastern RPG than the Western RPG. I don't know why. Just kind of how it is. So, yeah.
Nice.
Like I said, I'm going to probably take a look at our list and see if maybe I can go, switch out a game and do Wild Arms 2 at some point, because I have 1 and 2 as PS1 classics. I own 3 for the PlayStation 2. And then apparently 4 and 5 also came out for the PS2. And then the series kind of dropped off a cliff, like most JRPG series that weren't Final Fantasy did. But
or Dragon Quest.
Dragon Quest, yeah. But not made by Square Enix. There we go. Yeah, because honestly, all I can think of to be negative about the game is just nitpicky stuff. Like again, like I said, the battle graphics haven't aged well. The other thing I didn't like is I did say there are 64 spells for Cecilia to learn, and they populate in your list in the order you learn them. So if if you're just kind of going, okay, I need a fire spell, I need a healing spell, and then going on down the list, it's okay, now you have your fire spell is here, your heal spell is here, and then, in the order you learned them. And there is no way for you to automatically sort all 64 spells sucks. Yeah. Because how you can reorganize them is you can go into the menu, click the one you want to move, and then go down and click to where you want to move it to swap it with the spell in that place. Now try doing that for 64 spells.
Well, I think at that point, like you said, you really only used 5.
Yeah,
so you just put those
true.
at the top.
But still, it was still annoying to go, because the 5 I used were vastly, different in where I acquired them. It wasn't I made a beeline for those 5 spells. It was I learned a lot of them, and then I went, okay, I'm using these a lot, and moved them up to the top. But while I was trying to move them up to the top or figure out how to do it, because initially I said I hated there wasn't any magic sorting at all, and then I figured out how to do it, and I was like, well, that's dumb. But the other thing is, I did notice a couple times where the music seemed to change for an area, and the music it changed to was ear-splittingly bad, and I'm not sure if it was just the PlayStation 3's PS1 emulation freaking out, or if the music was just that awful. Because for the most part, the music in this game is good, but there were a couple tracks where it was just like ear-splittingly loud noise that did not sound like music at all, and it just repeated, and I'm just like, excuse me? A little help here? But the weird part is, I would, go do another story event, come back, and the music had changed back. It was just like, okay, sure. Anyway, wow, I went long on this game, too. We definitely made up for not being able to talk about Star Fox, sir.
Well, that's the whole point.
True.
We spent the 2 weeks playing these RPGs, so that's what we could talk about.
Yep. So, that'll do it for this game's episodes. Real quick, we'll talk about...
Hey, stop. Try that again.
Oh, I know what I did.
Yeah.
This episode's games.
There
we go. It wouldn't be a backlog busting project without me failing English. Yeah. All right. So next episode's games are going to be...
so excited.
Yep. We're going to be co-playing BattleBlock Theater.
I'm not excited for that.
That's probably going to get streamed, and you will probably watch a friendship die live on Twitch. Actually, you're probably going to see that before the next episode. We'll get to that in a second. Your game is going to be Unravel for PlayStation 4.
That's what I'm excited for.
Yeah. You fell for this game hard.
Yes.
I'm not saying that's a bad thing, mind you, but I don't even remember what you were originally planning to play before Unravel.
It doesn't even matter.
Yeah, it doesn't matter anymore, honestly, but and then my game, because I just love torturing myself with RPGs, apparently, I'm going to be playing Kingdom Hearts Final Mix via the Kingdom Hearts 1.5 HD remaster collection for PlayStation 3.
And that's just the first game, right?
Yeah.
It's basically, but edited or whatever.
It's the first game. It's basically the first. You know how Final Fantasy had like the international editions? Like Final Fantasy VII, we got like more weapons in the American version than Japan did. And by weapons, I mean the super bosses.
Yeah.
Or like Final Fantasy 12, we got or Final Fantasy 10 and 12, where we had, we got the original release, and then Japan got, a whole bunch of extra bosses, or an entirely different job system in Final Fantasy 12's case. Okay. Final Mix is basically that for Kingdom Hearts.
Okay. And also, hopefully this time he'll be able to make it, but we plan to have Sean on here because he's a huge Kingdom Hearts fan.
Mm-hmm.
So you get to tell him why you hate it.
I haven't even played it yet. Come on. I'll be honest. It's a game I've owned for a while. Like I bought the original Kingdom Hearts pretty much as soon as it became a greatest hits for the PS2, and I kept telling myself, "Okay, I'm gonna try it. I'm gonna sit down. I'm gonna actually play it this time." I would start it, and then I would get distracted by something else, and 6 months would pass, and I'd be like, "Where the hell was I in Kingdom Hearts? Fuck it, I'll start a new save file."
Yep. Been there, done that.
Repeat. So, anyway, so yeah, those are the games for next episode. Hope to see you then. Now we're going to go on to the last little bit here. It's going to be real quick this episode because we didn't really pay attention to it. But it's what we like to call news roundup. It generally ends up being just stuff we found online that we gaming related that we found interesting or wanted to talk about. But for this episode, I want to take some of this news roundup to say, if you are listening to this right at release, which would be March 1st, 2016, you still have a chance to come watch us in our 1 year marathon, 1 year celebration marathon, March 3rd, 5 p.m. Pacific to March 4th, 5 p.m. Pacific. Myself and Randy will be taking over the party room at Lancer Lanes Casino in Clarkston, Washington, and we will be playing games, raising money for the Sacred Heart Children's Hospital in Spokane, via Extra Life and Children's Miracle Network.
Yes.
It's going to be an experience.
I still have no idea how well this is going to go, what problems are going to come up with.
Yeah, I'm getting a little anxious right now, even just thinking about all the stuff we still have left to iron out. And as we record this, we have 4 days to go. It's Sunday, and this starts on Thursday. Yeah. So yeah, this is going to be interesting. So you can hopefully you can watch us play games and have fun. If not, have fun with the Schadenfreude as everything blows up.
It could very much blow up in our faces. But listen, we plan to play a bunch of games, especially that first night, that Thursday night. A lot of games that other
audience
people can come and join. If you are watching it on the stream, please come on. 10 p.m. Pacific time, where we'll be playing the Jackpack games for about 3 hours. Mm-hmm. So that is your time where you can join us wherever you are and play a bunch of goofy Jackpacks games with us and so on and so forth. We've got the schedule all basically ironed out to start out with some party games, go through the night with some like horror games and some Mario Maker and go through that. And then, because we've been up 18, 19, 20 hours, we'll play some co-op games and see which one of us punches the other one in the face.
Yep.
Spoiler, I hit hard.
Yeah. Spoiler, I'm more of the gentle giant archetype, so I'm not very, Anyway, the one thing that I found that I wanted to hit on real quick is the Uncharted 4 story trailer.
Oh my god.
Yep. Is it April yet? Also, can it be an alternate reality where I have a PlayStation 4 of my own yet?
It doesn't matter. I'm going to have this game beat in like 2 days.
Yeah. I wanted to buy a PlayStation 4, and then my computer decided to shit itself and make me replace a whole bunch of parts.
It happens.
with my taxes. Leaving aside the fact that story trailer was fucking amazing, did you see any of the like little storm in a teacup that happened at first with this trailer?
Shut up, Internet.
Because basically what happened when the new Uncharted 4 trailer came out is there is a very brief shot where you can see on Drake and Elena's mantle is a framed photograph. And then that shot kind of like does the whole zoom into the photograph thing and pull out, and it's, an actual location sort of thing. Well, in the original version of the trailer that was released to the internet, the photo on the mantelpiece was actually a piece of cropped Assassin's Creed Black Flag concept art. And Ubisoft noticed this, and a couple of Ubisoft devs, or people that had worked on the Assassin's Creed series, started going, hey, I get why it's called, I get why Thief's in the title now. And it very quickly became, Naughty Dog very quickly said, yeah, that's our bad. We didn't vet this all the way properly. It slipped through the cracks. We're sorry. And re-uploaded it with a new picture. And I'm sorry, I'm not trying to say it's a big deal, because it wasn't. I understand completely how these sorts of things happen. It's a little interesting that it happened, because you'd figure, with how tight-lipped Naughty Dog is about their storyline stuff, they would have gone over the entire thing with a fine-tooth comb. But then to see, this slip through the cracks, it was like, that's interesting.
You can go through it with a fine comb, but it's the people that are going through it, checking out storyline deals, are not going, oh yeah, we didn't change that picture that somebody just threw in from Assassin's Creed just as a placeholder.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. And I'm imagining that's pretty much how the conversation went as soon as they started finding out, that actually made it live. It was basically, who forgot to check that? Oops.
Sorry, the story to me is, holy God, that trailer got me even more amped up for a game that I have been waiting for a long time. Uncharted is my favorite game series. Just the whole storyline and characters and stuff, I'm completely invested in. I don't even care if this game turns out to be a big, giant piece of poop. I'm going to love it, so I don't care.
Alrighty then. So you can look forward to Uncharted 4 being on the project sometime in May. I think it would be sooner, except we have a Friday the 13th episode somewhere around there. Anyway, so that will just about do it for this episode of the Backlog Busting Project. We will, of course, be more active on Twitter and Twitch, hopefully, in the next couple of weeks, especially the marathon, but I also want to try and start streaming more often. And I know I keep saying that never happens, but now that I've finally got this computer fixed and back operational, hopefully we can get back on a regular schedule with that. So hopefully we'll see you at the marathon. If not, we will see you on the next episode. And until next time, as Will Wheaton once said, play more games.
I'm not going to embarrass myself with another attempt at my own catchphrase. I thought of some, but I'm not saying.
Nailed it! Oh God. Oh God. Oh God. Oh Jesus, where's my mouse at? Oh God.